Hello. The weather has been one son of a bitch. That's why it's been so long. Welcome back to the Pink Floyd Completion Project. Today we are looking at Live at Pompeii, the last break between Pink Floyd's early years and the classic years. It's a fantastic concert film. It is one of the most unique concert films you will ever see. It was filmed in Pompeii, Rome. Yes, the place that was destroyed by Mount Vesuvius. And they capture some of the amazing architecture that survived. It looks amazing in the movie. But we're here to talk about the music, and my friends, it does not disappoint. Because like the movie itself, it opens with like a black screen, and then it fades up to like, showing different buildings around Pompeii, or the different building remains around Pompeii, the ruins. That's what I'm looking for. And then it's the crew setting up all their shit. And then, bam, Echoes. The first half of Echoes. It is a fantastic performance. It is on par with the studio. I took notes for this. I'm not going to need them for a lot of this. I'm going to look at them occasionally. But Echoes, it is on par. And the cinematography really shows just how precise this band was. It shows what a fucking powerhouse Nick was behind the drum set. It shows how much of a god Dave is on the guitar. It even shows like how good Roger was as a bassist. Like, the only person I really think who's undershot in this movie is Rick. Rick, once again, getting the short end of the stick, despite the fact that he is like a fucking god as well. It's not that they don't shoot him doing his thing. I guess they just hadn't really figured out how to frame playing the keys yet. I don't know. But it is so good. And then that's followed up with Careful with That Axe Eugene, which, as I was listening to it, I wrote down, I don't remember this song being this awesome, because the version on Ummagumma, much like the rest of that album, is shit. So it's so cool. It becomes a prog classic in that moment. It becomes a Pink Floyd classic in that moment. That is the definitive version of the song. I still think the studio version of Echoes is better. But it becomes a classic in that moment. Careful with That Axe Eugene becomes a classic in that moment. And then it's followed up with Saucer Full of Secrets. The first half is better than the studio version. But then I'm not a fan of the first half. But then it gets to the second half, and then that makes listening to the song worth it. I changed my tune on the song, although this is the only version of the song I can see myself listening to in the future. If I ever feel like doing that, which typically I don't. Saucer Full of Secrets is not a Floyd album I think about all that often. Although it does contain the single coolest shot of any concert film ever. That is where you get this shot of Roger just fucking banging that gong. It looks so fucking good. Like, it looks cool. Like, holy shit. It's so cool. One of these days, so on the studio version of One of These Days, there's this ding 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 ding, and then it gets into the ding 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 ding. Yeah, and here it just gets right into the ding 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 ding. There is no build up. I've always been conflicted on my opinions of live versions of that part of the song, which I will explain when we get to the end of this overall project. But yeah. It's interesting. They accidentally forgot to film anybody apart from Nick during one of these days, or like they lost the film or something. But it shows, again, it shows what a fucking powerhouse Nick is behind that drum set. Like that shit is awesome. Um, and then in the second half of the song, like the guitars accidentally get like buried underneath Rick's organ, which I'm not gonna complain about because again, Rick is undershot in this, but hearing him really shows you how like he is Pink Floyd's secret weapon. I'm telling you. Um, and then set the controls for the Heart of the Sun. It has a more epic opening than the studio. It's a slower tempo. It is way better than the studio version. It becomes again, much like Careful with That Axe, Eugene, it becomes a prog classic within that moment. Like the original version off of Saucerful is pretty good. This version is better, a lot better. It's like again like it's it's so cool. Like God, it's so cool. I know that's what I sound like, but it's awesome. And then you've got like half of Seamus or like an instrumental version of Seamus for no reason. I argue that they should have put Fearless in there, but what are you gonna do? It's all right. It's all right, I guess. And then Echoes Part 2. Uh, once again, once again, just as good as the studio version. It is a fine way to finish out this fantastic concert film. One of the most fantastic concert films of all time. Like it is certainly one of the most unique because there's no audience, so you're basically just watching a band kind of rehearse, um, but not really because they're playing these songs live in their entirety, but there's no audience there. It's like a rehearsal for a concert, but they're not redoing things over and over and over again. I've done 2 musicals. I know how this shit goes. Um, but yeah, so I mean, yeah. I don't know, like, cause there is no. I guess there is an audio streaming version of it now, but like I think it gets its best effect when you actually sit down and watch it. I don't think the movie itself is on any streaming services. You can find it pretty damnly easily on YouTube. There's like 17 different fucking versions. Um, like of the whole thing. It's an hour. I'd highly recommend you listen to it. I'd highly recommend you buy it if you feel so inclined. Um, but yeah, and I'm gonna correct something I said in my Obscured by Clouds video. It took them 4 weeks to record, not 4 days. I fucked that up. I am sorry. Um, which is still really quick for any album. But yeah. So next time, there's no more waiting. No more, like, no more solo albums that I gotta look at. Um, like, you know what's coming. Next time, right? But until next time, I'll see you on the dark side of the moon.